One.
Hello everyone, my name is Sloan and I work in a vet clinic. And while working there, I've discovered some interesting things about my coworkers, especially the veterinarians. I've learned that the majority of them did not graduate from K-State, despite both applying and being qualified to Kansas residents. In fact, one of them went into great detail about his experience with the K-State application process. He applied initially and was denied, despite being qualified. He attended a different vet school and noticed an opening in the K-State freshman class, and he then decided to apply despite being a sophomore in another veterinary program. So keep in mind, if he got in, he'd be dropping a grade level. He was again denied in favor of an out-of-state college applicant, despite being overqualified this time around. So needless to say, I've noticed somewhat of a pattern, which is why today I would like to talk to you about why K-State's College of Veterinary Medicine should prioritize the in-state applicants. Now, as somebody who is pursuing veterinary medicine currently in our undergraduate, and have a few coworkers who have recently graduated from vet school, I've had some personal experience with the competitive pressures associated with applying to vet school, and I've researched how other states do it better, in my opinion. Many of you out there are Kansans who may one day need veterinary care in your communities. Many of you are also Kansans who pay your taxes. So this policy affects both your tax dollars and the future veterinarians in your community. Let's talk about the problem of the current admissions model. Examine what's causing it, and explore a clear, tested solution. Kansas students are not guaranteed admission priority at their own state's vet school. In fact, despite being a public institution funded in part by Kansas taxpayers, K-State's College of Veterinary Medicine does not prioritize its Kansas residents in the admissions processes. Out-of-state applicants are reviewed on the same level as the in-state applicants are, and often make up over half or more of the accepted class. In fact, according to K-State's website, as of 2024, which is the most recent statistic for these, only about 50% of vet student seats go to Kansas residents each year. Data from the K-State website also reveals that in the most recently accepted class, the class of 2028, only about 51 out of the 124 students were from in-state, meaning that just 41% of the class came from Kansas. Despite this, K-State is a state-funded institution supported by Kansas taxpayers. One would assume that this public investment would lead to priority for the Kansas applicants, but no such policy exists. In contrast, Texas A&M University's College of Veterinary Medicine, one of the largest in the country, states in its 2024 admissions policy that over 90% of admitted students to Texas are residents of Texas, which means in order to get into the Texas Veterinary College, you have to be a Texas resident, basically. A legal requirement that is backed by the Texas legislature. This ensures that public education directly serves state needs. You see, unlike applicants from other states who benefit from strong in-state preference at their own veterinary schools, Kansas students are left without a home team. This puts them at a significant disadvantage, with few viable options to choose from. The introduction of this bill would finally give Kansans a fair shot at the playing field. Now that we've seen the problem, let's understand what's causing this: the admissions gap. Unlike Texas, Kansas has no legislation requiring a certain percentage of seats to be reserved for in-state applicants, which allows K-State to admit more out-of-state, which is, in other words, to admit more higher-paying students instead of their in-state students. Because when you're applying to a college that is out of state, the tuition prices are usually higher. This detail is confirmed by a 2022 article in the Kansas Reflectors, which notes that Kansas lawmakers have focused more on loan repayment options than admissions reform when talking about rural veterinary shortages. Unlike Texas, Kansas has no state law requirement that any specific number of vet school seats have to be reserved for in-state residents. This opens the door for more out-of-state applicants to be admitted, especially the ones who can pay higher for the non-resident funding. This allows the university to accept more out-of-state students. Meanwhile, Kansas suffers from a shortage of veterinarians, especially in agricultural communities. While the loan programs are helpful, they don't solve the root of the issue exactly, which is limited in-state access. Understanding this cause leads us to a clear solution. Adopting a state-first policy would ensure that the Kansas students and their communities are helped. I believe that Kansas should adopt a policy reserving at least 75% of vet school seats for qualified Kansas applicants. This would ensure that the local investments goes towards Kansas veterinary workforce. Texas and other states have already proved that this model works very well for their schools and their students and their communities. It's time for Kansas to follow suit and formally put its residents first. We've looked at how Kansas students are being shortchanged by the current vet school admissions process, what causes it, and how we can help fix it. This is why I urge you and encourage you to contact any state local representatives to help with this, or student government to advocate for an in-state admissions priority policy at K-State. Kansas invests in the future of veterinarians. It's time we ensure that that investment stays home.